So RFK Jr. Went on the what's it called, Breaking Points with Krystal and Sagar, and Krystal did what's called the opposite of journalism. She pushed talking points from Big Pharma that are lies, and she's uninformed, ignorant, and arrogant. And she doesn't give RFK Jr. She makes accusations and then talks over him and doesn't allow him to answer the questions. And when he asks, "So what am I wrong about?" she won't tell him. So let's watch this. I don't know why I think she really wants to get back on MSNBC because that's the kind of show they do now. So here we go. Here we go.
So let me ask you about vaccines. This is an area.
Guys, come on, guys. Guys, and we're going to guys.
Where you and I have significant differences. And, just to level with you on this, like a lot of what you say I really respond to. I think you're a very genuine person. But the across the board, whether you want to call it vaccine skepticism or anti-vax advocacy, which has been a central part of what you've been up to for the past number of years, for me personally, it's an issue, and it's a real sort of red line. And I know I'm not alone in that, especially running in a Democratic primary. There are going to be other millions of people like me who have similar concerns. So how do you win them over? What's your message to people who think like I do?
Well, but just tell me where you think I got it wrong.
Well, I think
that's not coming. Okay, here we go.
You get it wrong when you draw a correlation between the rise of things like autism and the introduction of vaccines when there isn't hard scientific evidence tying those things together.
A correlation, there is a correlation.
Yeah, there is a correlation.
Doesn't mean
she
causation.
meant causation.
Yeah.
So she throws that out there, and he's ready to back it up. He's certainly ready. Let's watch.
How do you know there's not a hard scientific evidence?
Well, because the one major study that purported to show that was retracted, and the scientist who conducted it was,
Now, what you're doing now,
basically
Krystal,
fraudulently created. Listen,
no.
Hold on.
You're
but
raising this issue.
I don't want to get in a debate with you about this because you've spent your life.
Because he would embarrass you because you don't know anything about what you're talking about. And that's why you don't want to get into a debate. And you are sure you don't want to get into a debate, because if you got into a debate, everybody would, even more than we know now, we would reveal that you know nothing. People would know that you know nothing about what you're talking about. You haven't read any of the studies, and he would clean your clock, which is why you're doing such a dishonest and amateur. Well, it's not. It's a hack. This isn't an amateur interview job. This is a hack job. And that's what she's doing.
The people that maybe she thinks are qualified, they're never going to do it. They're never going to talk to him. So
that's right.
It's just left to someone like her.
That's right.
To be like, well, I trust this group for whatever reason, and how are you going to?
And she just talks over him.
Yeah.
And she just talks over him. Here we go.
Pulling out this study now, I will tell you. Let me just tell you.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Let me just tell you. I've listened to.
She won't let him talk. She's been talking nonstop now for about 3 minutes straight. And
listen what she says. The next sentence she says.
Okay.
Hours of interviews with you. With
no, you didn't.
no,
she didn't.
Did she say she listened to hours?
Yeah.
But you know what she didn't do? She didn't read his book.
Nope.
The bestseller, New York Times bestseller, Amazon bestseller for weeks, if not months, bestseller. She didn't read that book, because if she did, she wouldn't be saying this stupid shit.
With you, with an open mind. And I'm not persuaded. Now, maybe I'm wrong. That's possible. I'll hold it out there. People can watch. I thought Megyn Kelly did a phenomenal interview with you that went through all these claims piece by piece by piece. I really encourage people to watch that whole exchange, because we won't be able to do it justice here in the 5 minutes we have left. But there are going to...
Now, the reason why she can't do it justice in the 5 minutes they have left is completely manufactured and made up by her. She can take as much time as she wants to talk with him. This idea that she has to go to a break because there's another TV show coming in is not true. There's no other TV show coming. There's no commercial break they have to get to. They could talk to him, and I'm sure he would be glad to answer her questions and to make her and reveal that she doesn't know what she's talking about. But that's a little trick that Rachel did that's dishonest and hacky. And she said that, we only have 5 minutes left. They have as much time as she wants to have left. But the reason why that she said that is because she doesn't know her asshole from a hole in the ground when she's talking about this, but she sure knows how to repeat establishment talking points about Russiagate, about COVID, about lockdowns, about vaccines, and now about RFK Jr. without ever actually knowing anything about any of them.
She might have just had to pick up Kyle Kalinske from soccer.
Maybe that's what it was.
People like me who aren't persuaded and who see this as an issue, and the fact that it's been such a central part of your advocacy means I can't just sort of put it to the side and say, oh, well, I'll just ignore, this piece that's been really important to you in your life. So you're running in a Democratic primary. You have a lot of people who feel even more strongly than me who think that,
At some point, she's going to let him talk. At some point. At some point, she's going to let him answer.
Dr. Fauci is a hero in all of these things. How are you going to persuade them? How are you going to reach them? And what is your message to them?
Well, first of all, I'm not leading with, my opinions about vaccines. But what I say to people is show me where I got it wrong. Show me where I got my science wrong. I've written books about this. I wrote a book about a link between thimerosal and autism that has, I think, 450 distilled scientific studies that confirm and validate that hypothesis, and 1,400 references. And if I got something wrong, show me where it is.
But I think people have shown you where things are wrong.
No, I just won't.
I'm just not going to do it. I won't do it because I don't know what I'm talking about. And listen to what she says. Listen to this garbage. First of all, she's interrupting him again. And second of all, she won't show him what he got wrong so they can have an honest conversation about it. She's just doing broad stroke smears. And then when he actually starts to respond, she just talks over him and interrupts him.
Where it is.
But I think people have shown you where things are wrong, but you don't want to hear it. Is because I've seen,
Krystal, did you just say that you think people have shown him where he's wrong and he doesn't want to hear it? Because that's weird, because he just literally said that he'd like to hear where he's wrong. He just literally said that. I'd like to hear where I'm wrong. And instead of you telling him where he's wrong, you tell him he doesn't want to hear the thing he just said that he wanted to hear. Actually, it sounds like you, Krystal, don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it.
Fact checks Dr. Vinay Prasad, who we, really respect on the COVID vaccine. He went through your interview with All In.
She's referencing that garbage fact check that we debunked with Jay Bhattacharya from Stanford on this show.
I couldn't believe it, Jimmy. I went back and watched it because I remember being like, well, what's the big deal of Vinay? Well, he's not. She's calling it a fact check.
She's calling that a fact check. We already debunked that fact check. That's how dumb she's being right now on purpose.
So she didn't even watch that one.
She didn't even, no. So if you would have watched that fact check with Dr. Vinay Prasad, you would have known that he didn't fact check anything. That he's doing exactly what you're doing. Vinay Prasad humiliated himself and debased himself by forwarding Big Pharma talking points and propaganda, just like you're doing, without actually challenging anything that RFK Jr. has ever said.
Well, Jimmy, the thing that stuck out when I went back and rewatched the Vinay Prasad thing is like, we won't know for like 10 years whether mass and what he means is all the people in his circle and class are going to refuse to know anything about this until 10 years have passed and they feel comfortable
admitting it.
Looking back.
When they can say yes. So let's listen to more.
A fact check. I mean, it's not.
And I did a fact check of Vinay, and you should read that.
I will take a look at it, but I don't think that it's fair to say nobody has ever pointed out anything that's been.
You can't just keep saying that other people have fact checked you without saying what the fact check is. You can do that. That's what she's doing.
She said,
but when you do that everyone sees right through you, and what a garbage journalist you're being right now, and a garbage person, and everyone sees right through it. So you can keep doing that.
Wait, did you hear what she goes? You can't say nobody fact check you. He didn't say that. He said, show me where I'm wrong.
He said, show me where I'm wrong.
all comers
and then he
welcome.
wrote a fact check to that bullshit fact check that she's talking about, and she didn't want to talk about it. She doesn't want to talk about anything except smears of RFK Jr. That's what this is. Okay. Well, at least, Krystal, now you know why. Was it ABC actually edited out?
Right,
ABC News edited out RFK Jr.'s stuff he said about vaccines instead of sounding like an idiot like you are right now.
In fact, hats off to her for not cutting it off.
Hats off to you for not cutting this out because you look like an idiot. And look at Sagar just sitting there, just fucking sitting there, just sitting there, knowing she's doing it.
Wrong.
Well, here's what people complain about what I say. And I'm not leading on this issue, so people can either take it or leave it. But if you want to, what you just said about me, that I'm sort of hard-headed and stubborn and just won't give in, you're wrong about that. If somebody shows me where I'm wrong, I'm going to correct it. And, we have probably the most robust fact-checking operation now in North America. I have 350 PhD scientists and MD physicians on, CHD's advisory board, including until recently Luc Montagnier, who won the Nobel Prize for discovering the HIV virus. Chris Portier, who's the head of the National Toxicity Program at NIH, formerly, probably the top toxicologist in America. And if I were saying things that were scientifically unsound, those people would not stay with us. What I would say to you is, show me where I got it wrong. Show me a study where I got wrong, and I will change my position. Science is fluid. It's not an embarrassment to me if there's a new scientific study that I haven't seen that comes out and says I'm wrong. That's what you're supposed to do with science. But what I'm saying to you, nobody has done that. If Vinay Prasad, when he did his piece, if he showed me science that was valid, I would say I would change my position.
If we got the two of you together,
read my response to him.
So you say this isn't what you're leading with, but I just have to say, as someone who is watching your candidacy closely and is aware of the advocacy you've been doing and the organization that you are involved with.
I mean, I just have to say, as someone who's smug, rich, and half-informed in the best of times, I don't like your position. But I will keep asking you questions and then cut you off when you try to answer.
It's hard for me to believe this won't be an important part of how you govern. So I think that's the most important piece for people to get, who you have to accept there are going to be people like me who just don't agree with you on this. You certainly understand that there are many who...
You have to understand there's going to be people like me who don't personally know anybody who's been injured by a vaccine, and so therefore don't give a shit. Answer me this, Robert. If it's not safe, how come I had all my kids injected with it, including Kyle Kalinske?
Do you think that the vaccines that we have are more beneficial than harmful, that, got their kids vaccinated and are happy for that decision? So how is this going to impact the way that you govern, or does it not at all?
I mean, I'm going to govern according to, what evidence-based medicine. That's
so
the way.
Let me give a specific question. If there's another pandemic, in the last pandemic...
Thank God she cut him off. Thank God. Thank God. I was like, she's going to let him get an answer out? No, thank God she didn't. Okay.
Former President Trump, something we gave him a lot of credit for. He launched Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah. She's still doing that. She's still giving him credit for that.
What is she worried about what's going to happen? They're not going to rush it next time?
You right?
What is the fear? Will you lock us down if necessary?
Will you do things that are counter to science and the way you're supposed to handle things and then lie about them at the behest of Big Pharma like Fauci and we did at this show? Because they did.
I like to bring up the Sacklers a lot. Somehow I don't put it together. It ain't just them.
Whole of government approach. They use the mRNA technology that was developed using, U.S. taxpayer dollars to get a vaccine out to the population as quickly as possible.
She still doesn't see any problems with that. A rushed vaccine, which normally takes 10 years. She still doesn't know anything about excess deaths. She doesn't know anything about...
Did she not see Fauci warning us about it?
Did she not see any 1 in 800 vaccinations have turned into adverse events? She doesn't know anything.
Holding the records back for 75 years like his dad's...
Nothing. Pfizer wanted to hold back the vaccine trial data for 75 years. Does she even fucking know that? And if she does know that, it doesn't inform her one bit. She's not skeptical or suspect that she's being lied to by Big Pharma, the government, the captured FDA, the regulatory agencies, or their corporate bought media. She's not skeptical of it. She's skeptical of RFK Jr., and she doesn't know why. She's skeptical because she's been told to be skeptical, and she doesn't actually think for herself. She's being told. That's why she went along with Russiagate, which is why she went along with lockdowns, why she went along with mandates, why she's doing this right now.
How would your approach have differed?
My approach would have been a science-based approach.
Which means what?
Which means and a medicine-based approach. The approach that
Wait, can I just point something out? How smooth this dude is, because this is where Trump would have called her a nasty woman 3 times already.
And been right to do so.
And been right. And he doesn't even have an ego about it. He just makes the case.
Yes.
I mean, how do you not like that?
Your approach have differed?
My approach would have been a
Please interrupt him.
approach.
Please interrupt him.
Which means what?
Okay,
Which
good.
means and a medicine-based approach, the approach that has been used for, and approved for decades. You look first at therapeutics that are off the shelf, and you look at the efficacy of those. I mean, what I would have done if I was in power then, I would have created an information grid, because now we have this internet that is supposed to benefit us and has become instead an instrument for,
oppression,
totalitarian control. But let's use it for something good. Let's link all 15 million scientists, doctors, frontline physicians all over the world, and find out what they're doing to treat this new respiratory virus, and find out what they're saying is working and not working, and then test that with science, and then turn it instantaneously into protocols and recommendations for other scientists.
So would a vaccine development be part of that or not?
Well, I don't think the vaccine worked. I think, if you think it worked, then try to explain to me the countries that were unvaccinated did much better than our.
Many of those countries, because there are a lot of different factors in various countries. So a lot of those countries that you pointed out before,
what? So now she wants to debate him. So now she kind of wants to debate him, but she's not. She's just talking over him. Now she's kind of, isn't that funny? I thought you didn't want to do this.
Well, wait, why are we talking about other factors? I thought that we weren't supposed to talk about other factors except for one factor, which is the safe, effective vaccine.
Safe, effective vaccine. Now she's talking about other factors.
Yeah, wait, well, she says something funny here.
Okay.
Is death rate count in the world by far?
I think there are a lot of factors that may go into that. One of them is the fact that we are disproportionately obese as a society. We have the negative health outcomes that you've been talking about. We don't go outside as much as countries, say in Africa. I mean,
That's great, Krystal. Wow. I think the NIH slogan should be "Go outside like Africa." Joe Rogan goes outside like Africa, and he was attacked for it.
Hey, stop running. What are you, a horse?
This is really something, huh? She's really mask-off moment for her.
Because if you were saying that, hey, maybe get help. The things you said that people I think hated you for, like get outside, exercise. Don't stop it. Don't take anything away from the one thing.
I was telling people get their zinc, get their vitamin D3, get all the other stuff you can't say.
A lot of different factors that may play into that. But I will say, did the vaccines work in the way they were initially promised to prevent spread? No, I don't think so, especially once you got to later variants. But we have a...
What?
Look at soccer. You're like, what are you talking about?
So did they work like they said? No, but so what? What? That's what she's saying. Did the vaccines work the way they were promised, preventing the spread of the virus? Like, what a vaccine does? No. But did it work? I bet she's required to say it did. Let's watch.
A lot of data that shows that in terms of reducing severe hospitalization and death, the vaccines were really important, and maybe...
Oh, see? Oh. So they get to just change the story in the middle of the pandemic, and she just repeats it, except say, wait a minute, that's the exact opposite of what you all said. That isn't the way vaccines normally work. Can you imagine if we all took the polio vaccine and we all got polio, and someone said it was just there to lessen my symptoms? This is all crazy talk.
Is the vaccine like for the hospital to keep from being infected with patients? Is that how it's intended? Maybe I misunderstood.
Okay. Look, it identifies as a vaccine, and that's all. That's all that matters.
I consider it like the Dylan Mulvaney of medicine. It's not the thing that you thought it was, and it's mandatory. Mandatory everywhere.
There was a cost-benefit analysis.
I want to see that data. I know that's what the industry says.
There is lots of data, and not just from here.
And so she just keeps talking. She just keeps. She says she doesn't want to talk about the data, which she actually doesn't. She just keeps making these broad, sweeping generalizations that are meaningless.
My God, I hope she hasn't gone deaf from the booster.
And he could debunk everything she's saying, except she won't let him because they only have 5 minutes, which is total made up lie. And she won't stop talking over him when he actually has interesting, smart things to say. She wants to keep interrupting him with dumb things that are ignorant, that she doesn't know anything about, that she's heard other people say, and she's repeating. She's a repeater.
I think he says that. He says, all due respect.
Yeah, here it comes.
The world that shows the vaccine doses, and not just our vaccines, but ones that were created all around the world, reduce severe hospitalization and death. So in that way, yes, I do very much believe that they work.
And let me tell you something. What I believe you're doing now is you're parroting what the public health agencies have been saying, but they do not have a scientific basis for that. And I have another book out that you should look at called Died Suddenly, that goes through all the Johns Hopkins data, which is the dashboard.
She's not going to do that.
Now watch what she does.
She's not going to read that book. She didn't read your last book, your first book, your third. She's not reading anything. She's just going to repeat what she's told to say.
Data that everybody used and shows exactly what happened when first of all, the vaccine, the Case Western study that is probably the largest, most recent, shows that at most the vaccine gives you a very, very small amount of protection, and that after 7 months, you go into negative efficacy. So you are more, if you got vaccinated, you're more likely to get sick, you're more likely to get severe illness, and you're more likely to die than if you were unvaccinated.
I have not seen that.
She didn't see it.
Oh, no kidding.
She hasn't seen you. I'm shocked that you haven't seen it.
A voracious mind like hers?
All that fire in the belly for the truth about vaccines that she has.
All those long intellectual conversations with Kalinsky, you guys didn't get curious?
Study after study that shows the opposite.
She said, oh my God, she's seen dozens of studies, Kurt. She hasn't read dozens of them. She doesn't plan to, but she's seen them. And she certainly couldn't debate them with him, which is why she keeps changing the subject, talking over him and interrupting him.
How many times do you have to...
You don't think he would slam dunk your ass if you stop talking over him for a second?
And not even slam dunk. He would very politely and gently just tell you
you're wrong.
Studies that he read.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Listen, I don't want to get bogged down in this because
you're in over your head.
Because you're in over your head and you have no idea what you're talking about. I just want to make a bunch of bullshit statements about how you're wrong, and then when you're about to show me that I'm wrong, I want to say I don't want to talk about it anymore. Because that's a very hacky, cowardly thing to do.
Well, it sounds like
she's doing it right on camera. That's how bad it is. She doesn't have the self-awareness to know how shitty of a person, not only a journalist, but a person she's being right now.
I think she's actually better than most of the mainstream media, and it's this bad.
And that's what I'm saying.
It is better than like where they cut him off.
Right.
Because you at least got to see this.
At least we got to see how bullshitty she is.
Yeah, but I think you still got to do this little nonsense because I don't think it's just the viewers funding them, is it? There must be somebody who won't be happy.
There must be somebody who won't be happy.
Don't think we're going to see eye to eye here, and we have some other questions we want to get to, and your time is short. But we'll put in post, please send us what you're looking at.
Yeah, we're happy.
We'll put what I'm looking at, and people can judge for themselves. Hey guys, ready or not?
Hey guys, how are guys?
Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
He's going like Saga's trying to hear the point, and then she cut it. Just jump in, right the last second.
Their own viewers. So the beauty is their own viewers called them out. So I didn't even really need to do this, but I did it for fun. Krystal is arguing by parroting info that she has a bias towards, yet won't let RFK state his side. Lost more respect for her today. Oh, did you? I would have lost more respect for Krystal had I had any left to lose. No, I don't have any. This is 100% my opinion as well. These are under her own thing. Krystal is not open-minded. She just wants to say her piece with no feedback because she cannot defend them scientifically. She never could. And all these people Her, Ryan Grimm, Kyle Kalinske, everybody at the all the people who are 100% wrong about COVID and the vaccines and everything, they can't defend them scientifically. This is why none of them ever brought me on their show. They were so sure I was lying and I was wrong. None of them ever brought me on their show to try to debunk what I was saying. And what I was saying was that the vaccine, everybody's going to get COVID, no matter how many people get vaccinated. And the vaccine is to help you. It's not to stop transmission or contraction. It's going to lessen your symptoms. That's what we were. And so that's why mandates were always wrong. And we were pointing out that each country that had the highest uptake at vaccines also had some of the highest spread of the virus. And so I was pointing out before we knew that they were lying, that they never even tested to see if the vaccine stopped transmission. Before we knew that, I put it together just by the evidence that it didn't. Because everybody who got vaccinated, they were all getting COVID anyway. And then Andy Slavitt, Joe Biden's czar on COVID, in June of 2021 said everybody's going to get COVID. That was when we had Delta, which isn't even half as contagious as Omicron. He was saying that back then. Nobody knew he said that. I told everybody he said that. They ignored that he said that. So it didn't matter. It never mattered how many people were going to get vaccinated. It was never going to stop the pandemic, ever. Everybody was always going to get COVID. And they lied to you. She lied to you. Kyle lied to you. The entire media apparatus lied to you, except this show. And there's maybe Kim Iverson.
Do you think it's more of the thing of like, it's not that we're ivermectin, let's not even study it in case it works. Like, right. It's not like we're not even going to look that hard into it in case it's right. The thing that's inconvenient for me right now.
We're not going to do the kind of study we should be doing. Here's another. This is under her own video. I love this. Right up until Krystal steamrolled him over and over, saying she didn't want to debate the topic that she just brought up to debate. Then cut him off over and over after asking him to answer questions. So brutal. You're supposed to be gathering and publishing his opinion on topics. She says, good interview. Pity you wouldn't have let him finish his thoughts on the vaccines.
It's dangerous for him to finish his thoughts.
It is dangerous. You're going to trip your brother up. This is their likes and dislikes. They have 6,800 so almost 80% of their own viewers disliked their video. 8 out of 10 of their own viewers didn't like their video.
Like I said,
I guarantee you, Kurt, she is not going to apologize for this. She is not going to say you were right, I was wrong. She's going to say her audience is wrong, and you're a dummy for even listening to her in the first place, because that's what Rachel Maddow says when you call her on it. What did you want to say?
She's done enough, I think, with this beautiful display. Like, you look great in it. You can see people, how they reacted to it. If this was the network, then we wouldn't even have got this.
So this guy put it through one of these AI, like a chat GPT, but he put it through this thing called Bard AI, and this is what it came up with. Krystal Ball's interview with RFK Jr. was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. This is what the artificial intelligence came up with. It was hard to look away, even though you knew it was going to be bad. Ball was rude, condescending, and disrespectful. RFK Jr. tried his best to be polite and answer her questions, but it was clear that she wasn't interested in having a real conversation. The whole thing was a mess, and it's a shame that Breaking Points would air something like that.
I don't think it's a shame. I think it's great.
I think it's
I loved
great.
watching that. And also, it was great to watch, because honestly, if I had that stupid coming at me like that, ask me a question, cut me off, I wouldn't hold it together like RFK Jr., I'll tell you that.
I would not have held it together. I would have put her in her place for sure.
Yeah, he did great.
He did great. I tweeted out, what Krystal Ball is doing here is the opposite of journalism. She's revealing her uninformed cowardice and willingness to repeat Big Pharma propaganda. She was repeatedly wrong on COVID and the vax, yet her ignorance and arrogance is on full display, and her audience is calling her out. One more. They should really rename this show. How about Faking Points? Compton
Stayed up all night, but it was worth it.
So now, Krystal Ball is personal friends with another Democratic candidate for president.
Oh.
To the point where Marianne Williamson was the person who did the service. She officiated at her wedding.
Oh.
Marianne Williamson was at her wedding like 5 seconds ago, officiating it, and now she's doing that kind of hit job on her opponent, RFK Jr. That doesn't look bad, does it?
I thought Marianne Williamson was known as like the hippie lady, so she's on Vax, she's going to be crazy far away from RFK Jr., Marianne Williamson?
I don't know. Paying off your access journalism, Bills with Krystal Ball. Yeah. Okay. Being anti-vax is worse than funding Nazis to Marianne Williamson supporters, according to Krystal Ball, because that's what she's for. She's literally for funding Nazis in Ukraine. And so is, I'm sure, Breaking Points. It's so obvious that Krystal Ball and Breaking Points brought RFK Jr. on to point out his anti-vax stance in order to pull Democratic voters away from RFK Jr. in hopes it helps weak Marianne Williamson. Krystal knows Democratic voters are pro-vax mostly, so this is the target of the interview. This is why Breaking Points clipped the anti-vax part of the interview barely 1 hour after the interview dropped. Ask yourself, have you ever seen Krystal Ball challenge Marianne Williamson this way? The answer is, of course, no.
Oh, and she used to have that super PAC where she did, where she would help campaigns.
Yeah, she was going to.
That was a whole thing. I don't think it was illegal or anything that she did, but that does sound like a, yeah.
She's done illegal stuff, believe me. Jesus, I can't. This is Sabby Sabs. She says, Jesus, I can't. She's doing the work of Big Pharma here. Why not talk about how these pharmaceutical companies profited off the vaccines? There's another one. They've got some nerve pulling this kind of crap with those books on the shelves in the background. RFK Sr., Hate Inc., and Manufacturing Consent. I wonder if they've read them or if they're just there for branding.
She's seen them.
She's seen those books. It's amazing how Krystal wouldn't let RFK answer any questions. Yeah, it is.
It sounded like when the debates, when the reporter was like to Bernie, like, did you tell Elizabeth Warren that a woman couldn't be president? And he was like, no. It's like, how did you feel when he told you a woman couldn't be president? It was like that.
Yeah. You want to hear another shitty thing she did? Here's another shitty thing she did.
Let me ask you a little bit about that, because we've both watched a lot of interviews of you, and both on a general interest, but also to prepare for this interview and sitting down with you. And I think some of the key issues that you tend to focus on are COVID, the Ukraine war, and censorship. Those are all issues where you seem to be in basic agreement with the former president, Donald Trump. So I'd love for...
So to me, that's really underhanded shit. You sound like you're in agreement with Donald Trump.
Weren't you on Operation Warp Speed, by the way? He just said.
First of all, you agree with Donald Trump. You agree with him about Operation Warp Speed. Guess who doesn't? RFK Jr. didn't agree with him on COVID. Why are you lying? She just made that up. He doesn't agree with Donald Trump on that. So your question is wrong. You agreed with Donald Trump, not RFK Jr. You did. And then you say he agrees with Donald Trump on Ukraine and censorship. And my question to you is, why the hell don't you?
Yeah, what
the hell's your problem?
Because first priority is not agreeing with Trump, I guess?
Yeah.
It's reasonable.
So anyway, that was gross. There was a real mask-off moment for Breaking Points, and especially Krystal Ball. Sagar just kind of sat there through the whole thing, didn't say anything.
He probably had his guts in a knot having to sit through listen to that embarrassing spectacle.
He didn't say anything.
Because he knows more things than her.
Yes, he does.
And so it's uncomfortable to have to... it's like, what's his name? Vinay Prasad. Like his circle of people.
Yeah.
He can't just go blurting out truth.
The truth
he
all the time.
He finds a little of them and then he goes, I'm going to stop here. That's too much truth for today. Spread it out over 10 years.
Yeah. By the way, Kurt, the COVID-19 vax is safe and effective. Yeah. And it, while it doesn't stop the spread or the transmission or the contraction, it certainly slows it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're going to get it anyway, but it's certainly so.
Kind of like how Krystal Ball didn't stop the conversation. She just slowed it down a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And it also will keep you from becoming seriously ill, hospitalized, or death. That's the beauty of that vaccine.
I've seen dozens of studies.
Okay. I've seen them. Hey, you're supposed to get 4 to 6 servings of vegetables and fruit. Of course, nobody does. So a way to make up for it, they have this called, if you like superfood, Field of Greens. This is actually food. It's not a supplement. They take the food, the vegetables and fruits, and they turn them into a powder. And then you take that powder and you put a scoop of it in your water or whatever, or you can with milk or whatever you want to mix it with. I mix it with water. I like how it tastes. It tastes like iced tea and fresh cut grass, but in the best way. And they have others. This is the original. They have other flavors. But anyway, so I don't get my fruits and vegetables. I only really eat twice a day, maybe even less than that. So I take this. I started to anyway, and I'll let you know. I mean, look how good my hair looks and everything already. So anyway, you could get a deal on this if you like this. If you like this kind of thing, this is good for you. So it's called. Go to fieldofgreens.com and use the promo code Jimmy, and you get 15% off your first thing. And then if you wanted to have a subscription that keeps coming, like I guess every month or something, you could get 10% off that. So use the promo code Jimmy. Go to Field of Greens and get your superfood. It's a superfood. It's real. It's organic. It's nothing bad in there, and it's real food. Supposed to be good for you. Look at that. All right. So if you're into that, that's a good way to help support the show. Go to fieldofgreens.com. Use promo code Jimmy. Check out my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny, at jimmydore.com. Only $10. Become a premium member. We're going to be on tour in Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, California, Baltimore, Maryland, and San Francisco, California. Plus, did we say Chicago? There's lots of stuff. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. See you there.